Hello, everyone, welcome back to the channel. Tensions beneath the cold waters of the Baltic Sea have rapidly escalated from quiet suspicion to global alarm after reports surfaced of a Russian shadow-linked vessel suspected of sabotaging critical undersea communication and power cables. What once sounded like speculation discussed only by analysts has now become a serious security incident that forced NATO to react without hesitation. The Baltic Sea is not just another body of water on the map. It is one of the most strategically sensitive maritime regions in the world. Beneath its surface lies a dense network of undersea cables and power lines that connect countries, economies, and militaries across northern Europe. These cables carry internet traffic, financial transactions, government data, military communications, and electricity between NATO member states. They are not optional infrastructure. They are the nervous system of modern Europe, quietly supporting daily life and national security at the same time. In recent months, unexplained disruptions began raising concern. Internet slowdowns appeared without warning. Data transfers experienced interruptions. In some areas, power irregularities were reported. At first, these issues were blamed on technical faults or harsh weather conditions common to the region. But intelligence agencies noticed something troubling. The disruptions were not random. Each incident appeared to coincide with the movement of unidentified or civilian-flagged vessels operating unusually close to sensitive undersea cable routes. These ships were not warships. They did not carry military markings or fly national naval flags. Instead, they appeared to be ordinary commercial vessels, registered under third countries and officially engaged in routine maritime activities. Yet their behavior told a different story. These vessels slowed down precisely over known cable corridors. They lingered longer than normal. They returned repeatedly to the same locations, often at odd hours or under poor visibility conditions. This is where the concept of a shadow vessel becomes critical. Shadow vessels operate in the gray zone between civilian commerce and military action. They are designed to provide plausible deniability while carrying out actions that serve strategic goals. By using civilian appearances, such ships allow a state actor to disrupt critical infrastructure without firing a missile, crossing a border, or officially declaring involvement. This ambiguity makes response difficult and delays accountability. According to emerging intelligence assessments, one such vessel is now under intense scrutiny for allegedly damaging multiple Baltic Sea cables within a short time frame. Investigators believe specialized equipment on board may have been used to drag anchors or deploy underwater devices. These tools are capable of severing or degrading cables without immediate detection. Damage can be subtle at first, worsening over time and making attribution even more complex. The impact of this kind of sabotage extends far beyond temporary inconvenience. Financial transactions slow or fail. Emergency communications face dangerous delays. Military coordination becomes more vulnerable at precisely the moment it is most needed. In a region already under strain due to the ongoing war in Ukraine, such actions send a powerful and unsettling message. They signal that the conflict can expand into hidden domains without warning. For NATO, this was not merely a technical issue or a matter for private companies to resolve. It was a direct strategic challenge that struck at the core of collective security. Unlike traditional attacks, undersea sabotage is difficult to attribute conclusively. That uncertainty is precisely what makes it attractive to those seeking leverage without escalation. But NATO had anticipated this scenario. For years, alliance planners warned that future conflicts would increasingly target infrastructure rather than cities or armies. Energy grids, data networks, and communication links were always expected to become frontline targets. When confirmation reached NATO command centers that the Baltic cable disruptions were likely deliberate, the response was immediate and coordinated. This was not a slow or hesitant reaction. Naval patrols across the Baltic Sea were expanded within hours. Surveillance aircraft increased their flight frequency. Underwater monitoring systems were moved to a higher alert level. Member states began sharing real-time intelligence rather than waiting for routine briefings. This level of coordination signaled a serious shift in posture. This rapid response marked a change in NATO doctrine. Instead of reacting cautiously to ambiguous threats, the alliance chose to treat infrastructure sabotage as a direct security risk, requiring visible deterrence. Warships from multiple NATO countries were deployed to monitor shipping lanes more aggressively. Vessels operating near critical infrastructure were tracked closely and continuously. In some cases, ships were hailed and questioned about their activities, a move rarely seen during peacetime operations. This alone sent a strong signal that the rules were changing. Behind the scenes, cyber and intelligence units were working in parallel. Satellite imagery, sonar data, and electronic intercepts were analyzed together to build a clearer picture of maritime activity. Patterns of movement were mapped. Timelines were reconstructed. Analysts worked to determine whether damage coincided precisely with vessel presence. For Russia, the message was unmistakable. Hybrid warfare tactics may offer deniability, but they do not guarantee immunity from consequences. By responding instantly, NATO aimed to remove the strategic advantage of ambiguity. The alliance was signaling that even shadow operations would trigger real-world responses. This moment also exposed a vulnerability many Europeans had taken for granted. Undersea cables are remarkably fragile. A single damaged line can disrupt millions of connections across multiple countries. Repairing these cables is slow, expensive, and highly visible. Repair ships must remain stationary for extended periods, making them vulnerable to observation or interference. Governments across Northern Europe began publicly acknowledging the risk. Statements emphasized that protecting undersea infrastructure was now a top national and collective priority. New funding was announced for enhanced monitoring systems, rapid repair capabilities, and joint naval exercises focused specifically on cable defense. For civilians, the incident served as a sobering reminder that modern warfare does not always arrive with explosions or air raid sirens. Sometimes it comes quietly through a frozen payment terminal, a dropped internet connection, or a delayed emergency call. The Baltic Sea has effectively become a front line without trenches. The struggle is about control, access, and resilience rather than territory alone. Analysts note that Russia has both the capability and strategic motivation to target undersea infrastructure. Such actions allow pressure to be applied across multiple countries simultaneously. They test political unity and public confidence without crossing the clear red lines associated with overt military attacks. But NATO's swift response suggests those red lines are being redefined. Infrastructure sabotage is no longer viewed as a tolerable gray zone activity. By treating these actions as collective security threats, the alliance is closing the gap that shadow tactics rely on. This reduces the effectiveness of deniable operations and increases the risk for those who attempt them. At the same time, this escalation raises difficult questions. How far should NATO go in protecting civilian infrastructure scattered across vast maritime areas? What level of proof is required before taking stronger action? And how does deterrence work in a domain where attribution is inherently complex? These questions are now central to strategic discussions across Europe and North America. One thing is already clear. The era of ignoring undersea threats is over. The Baltic Sea incident may not dominate headlines like a missile strike, but its implications are just as serious. It demonstrates how fragile global connectivity truly is, and how quickly geopolitical competition can move into hidden spaces. For Russia, the incident may have been intended as a test, a probe to measure NATO's awareness, resolve, and willingness to act. The answer came faster and stronger than many expected. For NATO, the lesson was equally clear. Deterrence in the modern age depends on speed, unity, and the willingness to respond even when the battlefield is invisible. As patrols continue and investigations deepen, the Baltic Sea remains tense but closely watched. Every ship movement is tracked, every anomaly is examined, every cable beneath the waves is now recognized as a strategic asset worth defending. This incident may well be remembered as a turning point. The moment when shadow warfare beneath the sea forced the world's most powerful military alliance to adapt in real time, and as global competition intensifies, the silent depths of the oceans may prove to be just as decisive as the skies above or the land below.